Okay, so for the people that are in new relationships right now, what would you say are the signs of a successful one?
A successful relationship is when we have, yes, we need good chemistry. We need to have our values aligned. What I want, what you want, we're heading in a similar direction, and there's enough of a match that's there. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure, especially, that whatever's going on for me internally, my fears, the things that bother me about you, we're all going to be triggered, right? But if we're going to talk about a trigger meter, so we want you to be at low or a tolerable level, but you can't be highly triggered. So you know those relationships are together and like, we love each other, but we love to hate each other, and they like banter, but they fight all the time. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know if you should be together. Yeah, you probably shouldn't. Mm-hmm. You should probably break up. You don't, either that or you should get better skills for communicating with your partner. Mm-hmm. And when we do those things, then we can elevate our relationship. But if you're spiking out, it's not a healthy relationship.
What have you found in all the time you've spent with couples or individuals as well? What are the two biggest qualities people are looking for in a relationship?
A lot of people want respect. Mm-hmm. I want to be respected for who I am. I want you to understand who I am. I want you to, it all goes also around connecting to me. Like a part of respect is all tied into that. Okay. And the other thing is that people make an effort and they want to receive effort from the other side. So not that it's one for one, because relationships don't work that way. But in Judaism, we know that the root of the word love in Hebrew, ahava, is to give. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people feel, I'm giving, but my partner's not giving back to me. Well, sometimes they're giving, but they're not giving in the way that you want to receive. Right. That's a problem. Or sometimes they're really not giving. They're not such a generous human, and it's difficult for them. So I think that giving is at the root of building a relationship, building love, and having it last for a lifetime. Is there a common thing that you think holds people back from being in a successful relationship? Like, for example, when I was watching the show, and as I know from, being a human, a lot of people are mostly attracted at the beginning to things that maybe they shouldn't be. So they're looking a lot at looks, or they have a type that they think is super attractive, and it's all about what they think is the chemistry right off the bat. I mean, what do you think about that? I think that we initially look for a match with our eyes. Mm-hmm. And I love what you said, right? Like, I want to have a phone or a text conversation. It's almost like the, pod dating and not seeing anybody. And mm-hmm. I want to connect with your insides, and then I want to see your outsides and come to appreciate who you are. Right. But it takes patience. It takes time. It takes a little bit of tweaking, meaning for me, it's going to be a slow grow sometimes, because you might meet somebody in person and you might have fallen in love with the inside and feel deeply connected, but on the outside you're going, yeah, not exactly my look, not exactly what I wanted. Like, oh, there are people that are more beautiful than you out there. Maybe I should keep looking. Mm-hmm. But if they treat you really well, then there aren't people that are going to be more beautiful on the inside, and you should consider sticking with them. It's so true, because I have dated men who started as friends for, been friends with them for like a year, and those are the best, by the way. Yes. You should marry one of them. To have a friend first. Yes. And because then they know everything about you, right? And they love you, and they accept you for who you are, and they actually deeply care about you. Yeah. And it's just a matter of leveling the relationship up. Right. And there's like no secrets, kind of. You know who they've dated, you know what they like and what they don't like, and you end up being together. But I dated, people in the past where I've dated them for I've been friends with them for a long amount of time, and then they become so much more attractive to me. And the reason why I didn't date them at the beginning was because I didn't find them attractive at all. Right. And then all of a sudden, you find that you're like so in love with this person, and you don't even see this person that might be as ugly as a troll, but that doesn't matter at all. They're so beautiful to you, and they make you feel so good, and it doesn't matter if a supermodel's next to them. That's your person. And that's happened to me, where I've really been in love with someone who is not the most attractive person in the room, but just makes me feel so good and is so funny, or they have great qualities like that. Exactly. I think that's really important. So how did you get on the show? A matchmaker. Really? One of my matchmaker colleagues, we were doing webinars and we were doing trainings. We also do trainings for matchmakers and coaches. We were doing singles, online dating events, a lot during Corona. And she calls me and she goes, Aleeza, there's this show and casting called me. I don't want to be on it, but we've been doing these videos together and you're good on the spot. They could ask you anything and you just have an answer. You should do it. I gave them your number.
Oh my gosh.
So a matchmaker made the match.
And were you hesitant or you're like, yeah, I'm in?
I said, I want to know more. I want to hear, what's the company and what's the show and what's the angle, what's the direction. When I heard it was about Indian matchmaking, it was the spin-off of that. And it was going to be the Jewish matchmaking show. I had already binged the show. And I said, wow, they did that so beautifully. The production company, they do it from a docu-reality style. So it's really documentary style. They want the truth. They want to know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's still a reality show. And I said, you know what? That's the perfect blend. And there's always an amount of hesitation because everybody has rights to do, once you sign on the dotted line, they could do anything to you. But I knew the intention behind it. Right. And I said, okay, well, if I hold myself to my own standard and I represent myself well and I pray really hard, I think it's going to turn out well.
That's great. And it did. As I was telling you before we started, I watched the first episode and then binged the 7 other ones because it was so good I couldn't stop. And I'm not a full Jew, so it's for anyone who, you don't have to be Jewish to be watching it. So did you cast this group yourself, or was there help from Netflix?
So they did a open casting call and took everybody in, and then they had their top picks, but they did run ideas by me and said, what do you think and who would you like to work with? And so it was a collaborative process. They ultimately make the final decision of who my main clients are that I'm working with. But in terms of the daters, and once I set people up, I could choose from my own database, from anybody in the whole world, and it was just a matter of who was really a good match. Okay, so
the couples that we see on the show and the individuals, are they all people that you actually picked to be with that exact person?
Right. Okay. So some of them, just for example, Stuart dated Pamela. She's a comedian. She does advocacy work. And I had met her like 8 years ago at an event. And I was like, you are fabulous. Can I set you up? She's like, I'm not dating now. And I called her back and I was like, okay, now I want to set you up. But can you do it on television?
Right. And was she nervous?
She said, what? And then we dug into it a little bit more. And because I have a good relationship with people and people know me and they trust me, they say, okay, if you're in and you're the matchmaker, then I'll be in. I believe that if you're doing something, it's going to be good. It's going to be kosher, so to speak. And I would be proud and happy to be a part of it.
Right. Oh, that's great.